Howdy everybody and welcome back to the Willie St. Willie channel. Oh boy, I have missed you guys. This video is coming as sort of a surprise, well technically two if you think about it, as the lovely creator of the obscure Cryptids Iceberg decided to make a bonus tier that I can milk for more content. I mean, create more entertainment for all of us to enjoy. And this man did not cheat us, as he brought several more new obscure cryptids for all of us to enjoy and talk about today. So, you know, shout out to you, my man. Keep it up. Really. Thank you, because I was running out of ideas for videos. For real, all jokes aside, thank you for reaching out to me and just making the iceberg to begin with. You know, you're a real Chad, you know, real alpha male, Sigma, however you want to say it. And the second part of the surprise is that you may have noticed this is not the CIA iceberg that I promised you guys. And there's a reason for that. Because that video is in the ether. It's in the void. It's gone forever. No soul may dare view it. It's scrapped. And the reason for that is during all the research I was doing for the iceberg and just really sticking my neck out there, you know, probably ending up on a couple enemy of the state lists from the CIA somewhere out there in a database. Another up-and-coming YouTube channel also made a video on the CIA iceberg, and it was great. It was actually a really good video. When I sat down and watched it, I thought to myself that there's no way I could possibly top this. This is a great video. I don't even want to try to compete with that video, as I feel like, I don't know, I feel like he deserves the spotlight, you know? He's a great channel, great guy from what it seems. Bravo, man. I only cried myself to sleep once or twice, so kudos to you. Now, for real though, if you guys want to check out the CIA Iceberg, I highly recommend you go check out Necessary Information's channel. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below. And if you finish this video and feel like you want to watch more iceberg content, I'll point you his way. The only negative to this is that my Google search history is probably very tainted with anti-CIA searches, so if a few Men in Black agents show up at my door, I'm not going to be surprised. So guys, if you hear the news that I unalived myself by shooting myself in the back of the head 38 times and jumping off a 10-story building, it's very unfortunate, you know, it couldn't be helped. But seeing as how I put myself in constant danger for you guys, that I put my neck on the line for your entertainment, why don't you throw a few doll hairs my way to my Patreon? Yes, that's right, everybody, I am starting a Patreon. Now, there's not really that many tiers on it already, as I'm probably going to expand on it later. It's just something to help, you know, fund my way. Let's keep this thing of ours going, if you know what I mean. And if you're feeling generous and you want a blessing from Willie St. Willie himself, then why don't you toss a few shekels into my rattling internet tin can, as it would mean the world to me, you know. All proceeds will go towards creating new content for you guys, hopefully on a more consistent basis, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying my best here, guys. And maybe, hey, if you stick around long enough, you and I can get more acquainted, you know, one-on-one. I'm sorry. But enough of all that. Let's get into the reason you guys are here, for the bonus tier of the obscure Cryptids Iceberg. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off, we have the Walton Park Gnomes, and this event took place in 1979 in Walton Park, where 7 children supposedly saw 30 small cars filled with, well, gnomes, and they were fully decked out in gnome attire. They had the yellow pants and blue tops and like a bubble hat, and they were apparently super gleeful and joyful and merry and just really nice guys, you know. I love gnomes. They're really sweet. So after the kiddos had this little encounter with the gnomes, they reported it to their school teacher, and the school teacher actually reported to the local press. So yeah, this story actually made the news. And funny enough, Dr. Simon Young is actually trying to find the 7 kids from back then who were like in their 40s now, and wants to interview them and investigate more into the supposed sighting. So this man is a certified gnome hunter, I guess, you know, millions worth of hats, or however the TikTok meme goes right now. Next, we have the Coffee County creature. Now, this kind of falls in the category of a Bigfoot sighting, as supposedly a bipedal ape-like creature was spotted in Coffee County, Alabama in 2020. Now, the story got kind of semi-big as the local news and even professional Bigfoot hunters came out there and spent a few nights in the woods. But yeah, it was kind of like Finding Bigfoot, this TV show where they didn't really find anything, but still, it's the effort that counts, you know? Okay, I am gonna butcher this name, but so I gotta have my notes right here. So next we have the Lagarfjordsworm worm, or Lagarfjordsworm. I apologize for all of the Icelandic people I'm offending with this, but Yeah, I'm sorry, I do my best here. I don't know what to tell you. And so in Icelandic folklore, the Lagarfjalltworm is a lake monster reported to live in, well, Lagarfjalls Lake, which is a lake by the town of Igilsstihar. Sorry. Now, this folktale creature has been mentioned several times throughout history, with the first sighting being in 1345, and most recent sightings being in 2012, with a video supposedly showing him, well, swimming in the lake. And yeah, this creature has been mentioned several times in poems or stories and supposed sightings. So yeah, really cool Icelandic folklore creature. I don't really hear too much out of Iceland, so you guys keep it up. The Master Water Dragon, or the Monster of Lake Baikal, is kind of a unique cryptid, as there's not one singular description of him, but several. But the most popular ones being that it's a giant lizard-like creature, or that it's a giant sturgeon, which is my personal favorite description of him. But yeah, Lake Baikal is pretty interesting, as it's kind of known for its monster sightings, as apparently several fishermen have reported seeing weird creatures in the water. So yeah, real fun time when you're out at sea in the middle of the night. Next up, we have the Antarctic Godzilla, and this is a sea mammal type cryptid that was first spotted by a Japanese research ship in 1958 called the Soya, and the captain of the Soya called it the Antarctic Godzilla because he likened his appearance to the Godzilla in the first Godzilla movie, you know, the one that's in black and white. And some cryptid experts kind of roped this guy into the same species as a Cabagon, which is a hippo-like cryptid. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. The Cadborosaurus, or Caddy as it was nicknamed, is a serpent-like aquatic cryptid that was spotted mostly in the Pacific coast in North America. And pretty much every elongated type animal under the sun has been proposed as a possible explanation. Everything from, you know, conger eels, humpback whales, elephant seals, oarfish, you name it. So no one has really been able to figure out what the creature is exactly, but most people assume it's one of these elongated creatures. Selma in Norwegian folklore is a legendary sea serpent creature that supposedly lives in Lake Seljord in, well, Seljord, Norway. And the most interesting thing about this creature is that since 1989, Selma has been the coat of arms for the town. So yeah, that's pretty cool and badass, because I mean, who wouldn't want a giant serpent creature as their coat of arms? I mean, dude, come on. All right, for this next guy, the picture of the man dressed as the creature scared me more than the actual story. But the Bukit Tima Monkey Man is supposedly a immortal, legendary primate creature that lives in the forest of Singapore. And most of the accounts come from Malaysian folklore or World War II Japanese soldiers. So, yeah, pretty freaky guy. Imagine a Bigfoot that's immortal. That's kind of what I pictured in my head reading this. The Google Earth Bigfoot is yet another Google Earth entry from this iceberg. And this is kind of straightforward, as supposedly in western Colorado with these coordinates that I'll put on screen somewhere, Google Earth captured a Bigfoot sighting. So, you know, pretty interesting. The Gabriel Bent creature is a corpse that was discovered in Gabriel Bent, Egypt. And most people say this looks like a baby xenomorph from Aliens, or as the founder of this corpse said, an orc from Lord of the Rings. But most scientists kind of chalk this up as it being the corpse of a moray eel, which I guess is more believable. So yeah, it looks kind of gross to me. I don't really like looking at that picture. The Borneo carnivore was a new creature that was discovered on the island of Borneo, and it's slightly larger than a domesticated cat with a bushy tail, and most people assume this is just a cross between a cat and a fox, which gets kind of gross, but others assume that it might be a new species. So I don't know which one I want to believe, because either way it'd be kind of cool. So the Rene Chavillon security camera creature is a supposedly unknown creature that was spotted through security camera in Reche Canyon. And the popular explanation for this is that it's a skunk doing a handstand, which, I mean, I've never seen that, but I've seen pictures of them doing it. And the other explanation is that it's just some unknown creature that looks like Cousin It from the Addams Family, so I'm fine with either explanation, honestly. The North Carolina Candid Critter creature was a supposedly unknown creature that was caught on a Ring doorbell camera. And to me, it just looks like an owl got up close to one and the picture was taken of it. But some people suggest that it might be otherworldly, and upon hearing that explanation, it reminded me of the movie The Fourth Kind, with like the owl alien like scenes they would use. And yeah, it was really creepy as a kid. Looking at it now, it's kind of goofy, but creepy as a kid. So what do you want from me? So for the Washington Highway Bigfoot, I'm just going to read the tweet. So the Washington State Department of Transportation made a tweet of a supposed Bigfoot sighting, and with the caption, Sasquatch spotted. I'm not superstitious, just a little Stitious. Real knee slapper there. And they also added the, if you look closely by the tree on the left, there looks to be something. So, I kind of want to move to Washington now. They look like they're having fun up there. All right, this one's kind of like another goofy one in my opinion, but the Castle Rock four-legged man is a supposed four-legged man that walked by someone's Ring doorbell camera on November 26, 2020. Now, this one I think could easily be explained away as just two people walking side by side, but some people say that wasn't possible, as if they would have seen the second person. And also, the poster of the original video said that they only saw the person upon rewinding the footage, and they didn't see them like live when that was actually like going on. So that's another little weird detail. So the Ring camera alien, and wow, I just realized there's a lot of Ring doorbell camera entries on this iceberg. But basically, a homeowner saw this weird antenna hanging down with their Ring doorbell camera, and to me, I think this can easily be explained away as a insect that had its antenna hanging down, but hey, what do I know? I'm just some guy on YouTube, so. So before I talk about the Scott Waring alien encounter, I want to address the fact that Scott himself is a known conspiracy theorist and a quote-unquote UFO expert, so take everything he says with a grain of salt, but essentially he supposedly spotted two humanoid alien creatures through his Ring doorbell camera in Texas. And the footage is kind of grainy. You can't really make out that many features. But yeah, the guy posts a lot of UFO and alien stuff, so this is pretty run-of-the-mill for him. The Ring camera angel. Now, the backstory of this post is that supposedly a father of three recently had his father pass away, and he believes that he captured his father's, spirit essentially overlooking him in the Ring doorbell camera footage, or some sort of angelic force or presence. So yeah, I thought it was kind of cool, like the image itself, but I've seen a lot of supposed angel sighting videos and pictures throughout the years on YouTube and the internet, so this kind of just was thrown under the pile of other ones for me. The Florida Velociraptor. Let's go, man. I love all the Florida stuff. Now, supposedly a woman in Florida spotted a Velociraptor looking creature run through her backyard on her camera footage. Now, this debate sparked a lot of controversy online with people, claiming it to be fake and whatnot, and this actually reached Fox 35 News. So that's kind of, how big the story went. It made it on the news. That's kind of like the bar for how popular something gets if it makes it on TV. Pensacola 2006 encounter. Now, funny enough, I actually remember this video, like an old school YouTube. I was like 7 or 8 when I saw this, and you're never going to guess who posted this video. Just take one wild guess. It's from a mainstream source, too. It's the History Channel. I know, yeah. They posted a video of a supposed alien in a man's bedroom in Pensacola, Florida. I mean, that's kind of nothing new with the History Channel at this point. But back then in 2006, I suppose this would have been like a weird thing for them to post. Jeff the Talking Mongoose, or the Dalby Spook, was a supposed talking mongoose that was owned by the Irving family in the Isle of Man. And most contemporary critics just chalk this up to being a hoax. They use ventriloquism to make the mongoose appear as if it was talking, but they actually had a extensive news coverage for the story of showing off this talking mongoose on their Irving family farm. So yeah, this is kind of funny. It reminded me of Charlotte's Web for some reason. I don't know why, it kind of just did. The Boston Lemur. Now, this story originated in 2002, a little bit north of Boston in the town of Sherborne, where on a rainy day on an old rural farm, an amateur filmmaker named Andrew Mudge noticed a small hopping lemur-like creature that he couldn't really properly identify, just gleefully running around, and when he tried to follow it, he eventually lost sight of it. Now, this lemur creature is mostly chalked up as to being an escaped zoo animal, or perhaps an unidentified breed of lemur that got loose somehow. So, yeah, if you ever see a lemur running around with a Boston Red Sox cap, well then, you know where you heard it from. It's me. You heard it from me. The California fetus. Ugh, God, this picture's kind of gross. But essentially in 2015 in Los Angeles, California, an unidentified carcass of a weird alien-like creature was found. And most people chalk this up as it being a deformed fetus or maybe an alien body. But I don't know. It's just gross. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Let's move on. Aliens in Aisle 5. Now, this sounds like an old science fiction story. But basically the story goes that in 2006 in Vancett, Virginia, a passerby was just driving by a Food City store until they noticed a flying saucer that was hovering just above the Food City store. And when another innocent bystander was walking by, a humanoid gray alien figure just appeared from the craft and grabbed him by the neck and then abducted him and flew away. So, yeah, kind of a drive-by abduction story. The Garson Invaders. Now, this is an extraterrestrial sighting that took place in July 2nd, 1954, by a Canadian miner named Emilio La Sarza, who was originally Italian. And he described these aliens as not scary or outright hostile, but outright apocalyptic. So, real Lovecraftian type stuff right there. And he'll describe the aliens as being colossal in size, so around 13 feet tall, having bluish green skin, tendrils, and a singular giant eye. They also had crab-like claws and twin antennas coming out of their head. And when the largest of them, how he assumed to be their leader, started approaching him, he obviously got freaked out and tried to leave, but then he was hit by what seemed like a psychic blow. Now, according to Ennio, he had no interest in science fiction or alien abduction stories before this event, so basically this was the most traumatic event of his life, and he swears by it that it was all real. He did not make up any of it. Now, honestly, this story can probably make up its own video if it's stretched out long enough, because Lovecraftian aliens always freak me out, so yeah, this is a good entry. I like it. The Texas stilt walkers, otherwise known as the Striders, are supposed cryptid beings that reside in the southwest United States, or more specifically Texas, and they kind of remind me of the black stickmen that I mentioned earlier in the Cryptid Iceberg or the Cloverfield monster. And these eyewitness reports didn't really start appearing until 2008 online. And even though most known eyewitness reports describe them as being peaceful and not outwardly hostile, some people describe them as being evil, predatory spirits. So, pretty cool entry, to be honest. The Bird Beast of Var is a supposed extraterrestrial encounter that happened in France in 1962, where the creatures attacked a man's car. And the description of these creatures kind of remind me of the Griffin in mythology, or kind of like an alien version of a griffin. So yeah, pretty cool cryptid. The only story I could really see describing these creatures was the original story in 1962, so I'm not really sure if there's been other encounters since then. I don't know that much about it. So the Also One story, otherwise known as the chillest alien in the cosmos, is probably my favorite entry in this entire little tier, and you'll start to realize why as I tell the story, because this can kind of make up its own video altogether. But basically, the Also One encounter was an extraterrestrial sighting by 41-year-old oil well driller Carl Higdon on October 25th, 1974. Carl took the day off from his oil well drilling job and decided to hunt some elk in Medicine Bow National Park. Upon discovering a little herd of elk, Carl decided to take the shot, but once he pulled the trigger, he realized that there was no recoil in his rifle. Better yet, there was no sound at all. And it wasn't until a few minutes later that Carl kind of started to realize that there wasn't really any sound anywhere, and everything seemed like it was slowed down, and he can actually see his bullet slowly traveling towards the herd of elk as it was coming out of his barrel, and kind of freaked him out. After a couple minutes of Carl just being perplexed as to what was going on, a strange humanoid alien creature approached him and said, "How you doing?" Carl, obviously not really knowing what to make of this, kind of just said, "Oh, pretty good, man." The alien, who then introduced himself as Also One, asked him, "Hey man, are you hungry?" And before Carl could really answer, he just started floating this cellophane wrapped package towards him with 4 pills inside of it. And during this interaction, Carl noticed Also One's spaceship that was kind of in the distance, and also noticed him noticing it. So also decided to ask, "Hey man, you want to come along?" It was at this point that Carl said time seemed to just leap forward for him, and the last thing he could remember was getting a tour of the spacecraft and also a tour of Osso's home planet. So I guess they went off into space really quickly. Carl later went on to give a full description of what Osso looked like, and he described him as around 6 feet tall, humanoid, coarse, spiky hair, and having no chin. He just had a straight neck, very large teeth, and almost no lips, so the average British person. And he also was wearing this skin tight black one-piece suit that was kind of like what scuba divers wear. And he also said he had noticed he had a star-like insignia on his belt that he couldn't really identify as to what any Earth organization that it belonged to. And also he had a pair of antennas, so kind of like Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, apparently also had no hands. He had like a drill-like appendage sticking out of his right hand, and then completely nothing at all on his left wrist. So, yeah, this is probably the coolest alien encounter story I've seen recently. So, yeah, maybe I should have made a video about this instead of the dude who had sex with an alien in my last video, but hey, it was fun either way, I had fun. Next we have the Pendelli egg, and this is kind of a weird extraterrestrial sighting that happened on Mount Pendelli in Greece. And essentially a couple in 1977 noticed there was an abandoned car while they were hiking on Mount Pendelli, and upon seeing it abandoned there for quite some time, they went on to investigate the surrounding area of it to see what the hell was going on, and they found a strange, egg-shaped orb creature with two bulging eyes on top of it, and that was around 2 feet tall, and obviously that would scare anybody. So I guess you can classify this as a cryptid / extraterrestrial sighting. So I don't know. The Falkville Metal Man, otherwise known as the Discount Walmart Iron Man, was a extraterrestrial / cryptid sighting that happened in Falkville, Alabama in 1973. And essentially the chief of police at the time, Jeff Greenhaw, got a report of a UFO in the area, and we went on to investigate. He noticed there was a tinfoil suit wearing alien monkey child creature that was just, wandering around with a real spring in its step, acting all gleefully and happily. And, describing it as a monkey child robot kind of I can't really picture how its movements were, but when Jeff tried to go and investigate it, the creature ran at speeds that was, in his own words, unlike anything he'd ever seen in a human. So, yeah, pretty interesting story. The Arboreal Abomination was another extraterrestrial sighting in 1965 in Peru, and it was noticed by two witnesses, Antonio and Julio. And basically they were driving down a road in Peru, and they noticed there was a weird creature that stood just over 31 inches tall, and they described it as a Martian or a bush-like creature. And they described it as having one giant eye resting on the top of its head and having a multitude of smaller eyes surrounding it. So, yeah, pretty creepy alien encounter. I don't know, this story was kind of funny to me when I was reading it, but the Domston Blobs was a alien abduction attempt story / extraterrestrial sighting story, and essentially near the village of Domston in Sweden, two people named Stig and Hans were almost abducted by these weird 3 or 4 gray, shapeless blob creatures that try to grab them and kidnap them. And after fighting for their lives for a little bit and eventually able to scare off the creatures, they were able to get away and report the story. And apparently this is one of the most celebrated UFO stories in Sweden, which I've never heard of it until now. So yeah, good stuff to know. Okay, I really don't know why this entry is on here, but this is an obvious hoax video on the YouTube channel Shrouded Hand, and it's supposedly a monkey creature that lives in someone's radiator. That's kind of it. I mean, even when I was watching this video, there's like an obvious stock monkey sound at the end of the video. So yeah, this is a pretty obvious hoax. Stephen Kilburn's Abductors. Now, this is a typical alien abduction story. However, the unique part of this description is that the illustration of the gray alien creatures that supposedly abducted Stephen were obtained through, hypnosis therapy. So that's a cool little detail. The Connell case is another long and convoluted UFO story, so I can't speak on all the details, but essentially in September 1989 in the town of Connell, there were strange mysterious lights that would originate from a beach near the town, and when a group of teenagers went to investigate said incident, they saw these strange alien creatures emerge from these blue and crescent light shaped spaceships, and the alien creatures proceeded to shapeshift and transform into humans essentially, but they had Nordic features, they are specifically Nordic looking aliens, which I was mentioning in the previous tiers of video. So yeah, interesting story. I would read it for yourself because I'm not really doing it justice just brushing over it like this, but yeah. The Kelly Hopkinsville encounter is probably one of the most well-documented cases in the UFOologist community, but essentially in 1955 in Christian County, Kentucky, a family was supposedly attacked by these weird, strange, goblin-like alien creatures that were attacking their family home, and they had to hold them off for several hours with gunfire. And even though the Air Force classified this case as a hoax, they thought that the family just misidentified, owls and meteor showers, other natural phenomenon. But that doesn't stop this case from being talked about several times and even inspiring the movie Critters, which I didn't know. I thought it was just like a Gremlins ripoff, but no, apparently it was also inspired by a real life event. So that's pretty cool if you ask me. The Close Encounter of Cusack was a name given to a supposed extraterrestrial sighting in France in 1967. And essentially the story goes that a boy and his sister were watching cows in the field when they noticed these 4 small black creatures that were approximately 47 inches tall floating around the cows and also ascend into their spaceship. And interesting fact that this story was actually investigated by the French government. And when the reports of this case were finally released online in March 2007, the site crashed within a day because so many people were just trying to read about it when they first were posting about it. So I guess this was a popular UFO story in France. So, you know, the more you know. Finishing up this tier, we have the Ratman of Southend. Now, this is actually a bit of English folklore, and the story goes that a homeless man was trying to seek shelter from the cold in an underpass until he was discovered by a group of youngsters who proceeded to viciously beat him, as I guess youngsters in England do to homeless people. And while he was, you know, injured and clambering around in the sewers and underpass, he was eaten by rats. So yeah, real lovely stuff. And suppose the story goes that, you know, his spirit of the Rat Man haunts, you know, sewers in Southend in England. So yeah, creepy stuff. This story reminded me of the VHS movie segment where of Ratma, where, you know, that deformed, creepy rat creature thing that, oh god, that creeped me out just looking at that. But sleep well tonight knowing I put that image in your brain. So yeah. And that's it, guys. Finally, for a second time, we finished the obscure Cryptids Iceberg. I have a lot of fun making these iceberg videos, and this was one of the personal favorite ones I've done so far. And I really hope you guys stick around to see more videos I make, because I have another one in the works already as we speak, as I'm recording this right now. So hopefully I can make another video relatively quickly after this one. But yeah, as always, guys, thank you for sticking around and supporting my channel. Your support and your comments and your likes, it means the world to me. Feel free to check out all the other videos on my channel and check out my Patreon. Wink, wink, please give me money. No, I'm playing. But if you do like the video, subscribe and yada, 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 all that good stuff that every YouTuber says. You don't need me to say it to you again. In all seriousness, though, guys, thank you for watching. And hey, if there's a cryptid we happen to miss in this giant iceberg I did, feel free to put it in the comments below. Maybe other connoisseurs might be interested in learning about it, because God knows there are plenty of them. It feels like there's infinite amount of random cryptids and critters out there that people talk about. So, but just in case I don't see you guys, stay safe and have a good one. Goodbye.